I got things to do.
Hey, I know this man is always on the move, trying to. I know where you at right now.
I'm in Chicago. I'm in
Oh,
Chicago.
you on the way to Orleans or
Nah, not yeah, that
not
too. That's
yet?
later. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, small holiday. Travon Smith, man. Like I said, we was gonna help you guys out for 30 minutes, and I think the importance of if you don't have the means to certain funds, then I don't think you should go out your way in order to create a holiday that most of us can't afford anyway. Travon Smith, licensed real estate agent, investor, beginning investor. Like I said, it's the first six on a 6 month accountability tour where we'll be doing this all the way till May. Um, we want to talk a little bit about what and why and what decisions we do make, as well as like we've talked about before with the guy I'll be interviewing with a little bit later on. We had a lot of meetings throughout years, and it's like, you gonna work hard now or you gonna work hard later, but you gonna work hard. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to work hard at some point. And our guest today, we're gonna be talking to Adrian Scott, Los Angeles radio professional, expert, concert creator, real estate investor as well. As you know, I know a little bit about this man. The pictures don't do enough. These just a couple things, clear pics I can get off the internet. He currently has a concert in rotation right now, as well as other concerts. But this is his baby. We'll talk a little bit more. He has a couple babies that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of and listen to how they've been created. So, with that being said, April 20th, go get your tickets to the Forum Crush Groove. So, without no further ado, we'll be talking to Mr. AD. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I look at these pictures, I'm like, Jesus, what was I eating? But
Hey, we see. Hey, as we get older, we got to start making better decisions, and and that's something I want to talk to you a little bit about. Um, go ahead and tell us your resume, Mr. Adrian Scott, Program Director of Los Angeles, help uh, reestablish and bring back, rebrand 93.5 K Day that's still running to this day. I believe he's out in Denver, Colorado. Taking care of business. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on. Hey, I don't
yeah,
have to tell this dude this, but I'm gonna say it. Don't be humble, man. Just go ahead and do your
I,
thing.
so obviously it's just another day for me, but I mean, yeah, what I started, I've been in the radio business since I was 17 years old. Started out Z90 in San Diego, which led me to Palm Springs, New York, Vegas, Riverside, and then ultimately back to LA um, to do K Day. And then, obviously my claim to fame, if there's any claim to fame in the radio space, is that I turned K Day into the first classic hip hop station in terrestrial radio, which was unheard of in 2009 or 2010 when I did it. And now every single station in the market has an old school hip hop station. So, um, in addition to that, I started to create my own events within the radio space, which ultimately led when I left K Day to just do my own business, just doing events and stuff on my own. So, I'm proud of what I've done. I think that I don't get the credit that I get, not because I don't deserve it, just because I never really ran my mouth. I've always been a guy, and you know me, Trayvon, like I'm always behind the scenes, and I don't mind being behind the scenes because y'all know my number one agenda in life was always the check. So, but sometimes every now and then I like to step out and say, yo, this is what I've done. This is what I've created. I'm happy what I've done so far in my life and my career. And I've done pretty well up to this point. So sky's the limit on what else I can do. And, we'll go from there. But, radio was a very important chapter in my life. I still do some consulting on the side. I'm not knee deep in it like I used to be.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have the other things if it wasn't for the radio business. I wouldn't have the businesses that I have now where I've established relationships. Oh, did I miss somebody? So yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell, you know. Um, yeah, I don't know what else,
No, no.
I'm open
So,
for
so doing like the processes as because I was with you. We was both young and growing up, and and figuring things out. But you always had a knack for business. So, what made you? How did you understand the knack for business at such an early age? And how did you like, because some people are at the ages we're at right now, the current age we're at, they still don't got it figured out. But
Right.
I was around you, we was having fun and stuff, but you always had a knack for like, I have to take care of business. And we'll get to the next part, because you was always a man that like, I didn't understand till now about separating business from pleasure. Because you didn't let too many people around you. You didn't smile too much around certain people, because you was like,
Yeah.
hey, pay me or get away from me. And now I understand that. I didn't understand that before, but now I get that. But talk a little bit about like your mental process as far as like being in that business, having like a bunch of success and knowing what your destination was already.
Well, I mean, I looked at it from a couple angles because I saw people making money.
Yeah.
And then I was like, man, there's more ways to make money than being a guy that worked for a company. So, and for me, and you kind of know me, that I'm never content on satisfactory,
Yeah.
right? So I always wanted to get to the next level. And that a lot of that is because I was the younger brother of 5 kids, right? So my oldest brothers and them, it was always competing. So I have this desire to compete. Also, what it is that, like I said, I just saw things and like, man, all right. And I'm a big believer, and I kind of knew this a long time ago that at some point, I knew that radio was going to go digital at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, which even in 2009, even before, I was like, man, we got to have an exit plan. So I was always trying to figure out what will be my exit plan, because and I used to tell you guys this in the office, like, guys, we got to figure something out, because we can only be here for so long, right?
Yeah.
So I would just try to find little nooks and crannies that I could get my hands on, and then ran with that. That's how the concert business came into play, which ultimately led to relationships with the NBA and NFL, which led to a lot of little things here and there. So I'm in Chicago now on some business. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of how the things move now.
Yeah.
So at early age, I mean, not at an early age, I just was around a lot of moving pieces at an early age. I was in a lot of big meetings at an early age, where acquisitions of radio stations upwards to 60, $70 million that I was a
Mm-hmm.
part of. And I'm not even, and I wasn't even 30 at the time. And I was like, man, there's more than life than just getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. So that's kind of where that knack came in. And then I try to give that same information to my staff too at the same time. Like, yes, so guys, we gotta figure this out, because there's more out there. So stuff like that.
Yeah, I think maybe I was the only one that paid attention and listened. Uh,
Yeah, right.
hey, because what I'm saying, that's something we talked about, and for the people that don't understand exactly what you're doing, we're talking to Adrian Scott, ex-program of 93.5 KD, as well as business consultant for a lot of radio stations you guys listen to. I could talk about a bunch of people that we was in the room and changed the whole radio game, and we'll get into a little bit of that. But I want to talk about just like, I used to always kind of just keeping it 1,000 quit, like, damn, this nigga, I was about to, AD don't talk to nobody. Like, he don't smile with nobody. And I never understood that, because now I know that the volume of information that you had and had access to, people just want to drain you on a daily basis, 24 to 25 hours out the day. So talk a little bit about that. And for the people that don't understand exactly what a program director is, tell them what the program director does at the radio station.
Yeah, I mean, I always had this reputation that I was an asshole.
Yeah.
I heard it all the time, because you're right. I wouldn't come in the building and say hi to everybody and shake hands and smile, and that wasn't my demeanor. It wasn't that I was a nice person, because people who get to know me think I'm a very nice guy sometimes. But it was just because I was there for business, and I had a job to do, and the job was, was getting good done. But as you got to know me like you did, Trey, and the people that are real close to me, they know that I'm really not a hard guy. Yeah, I expect, I used to always say in the office, don't make me look bad,
Yeah.
right? Y'all can do what y'all want, but if I have to justify your actions, then we have a problem. So that's still my motto. As far as what a program director does, so a program director for radio station is a person who's in charge of all things programming, which is all the music, the talent, the in between stuff between the songs, dealing with sales, dealing with clients, trying to increase revenue, especially in a medium that is not as lucrative as it used to be.
Uh,
So, we had a lot of uphill challenges, and K-Day's biggest challenge is that the signal wasn't a full market signal for LA. So, while everybody else can cover the entire valley, we covered a small section. So our work was even more cut out for us because we had to carve out this piece of real estate in the marketplace to not only get ratings but revenue. So I was in charge of a lot of that stuff, trying to put money on the books, which I did, and like I said, K-Day's still around to this day, right? A station that nobody really wanted at first. I remember in the first part of the meetings, I think you were around too, Trey, at the time when I created the concept of the old school hip hop format. Is like they wanted to go country and they wanted to do all different types of stuff, and then I said, hey, listen, I got this idea, and still, what, 15 years later, 2009, or however long it's been there, it's still active. So yeah, kudos to myself on that one. But yeah.
Look at you. Hey, so I wanted you to talk about that because I don't think the people who are listening and who are going to see this understand the value of a program director, because you got when I say everybody in LA knocking on doors, we talking about politicians, the police, the Nation of Islam, the top Hispanics in the community, senators, and we know, firsthand, all the gangsters. You know what I'm saying? All the gangsters knocking at the door because they got an artist. And then you got to deal with the Interscopes, the independent artists. So it's a lot of power in Los Angeles. So that's where I want to, have you talk about just being able to cope with that. Because you got people trying to befriend you, right?
Yeah, but here's the good thing about position that I was in, because there wasn't a lot of Black program directors when I
Yeah.
started, especially in LA. I think I was the only one. So, and at the end of the day, no matter how you slice this bread, like a lot of the artists were Black, a lot of label heads were Black. So I was easy. I was more at ease dealing with the artists and the labels just because of our skin tone. But at the same time, I had to pivot because the clientele and the art and the other thing was, all the politicians was more on the white side. So I actually have a pretty good knack of being a very good chameleon when I need to be me and when I need to be them, or when I need to be a combination of both, because I can play both sides of the plate. But yeah, I mean, dealing with just everybody has an agenda, right? So, but I knew that, and I didn't take that personal, because at the end of the day, they had an agenda to get their song play, or this person had an agenda to talk on the radio. But I had the same agenda, right? My agenda was get ratings and revenue. So if I can balance that out where it helped me help them, then of course I'm all in. So like I said, I was smart enough to navigate in a space that it not only benefited me, but it also benefited other people. And sometimes I had to say no. And sometimes I had to be very blunt and say no, like it don't work, because it didn't meet the criteria that I needed for my agenda. And it's just business. Like, I never took it. I'll take that back. I used to take it personal. Okay. But that's part of growing up. And then as I was in this position and as I kept growing, I started to wean myself out from a personal standpoint. Uh, so now that I know it's just strictly business and that we're all just numbers in the game, it's easier for me to go into a situation now than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I got you.
But I kind of caught it early though.
Yeah, no,
I didn't
you didn't
believe it.
you
Yeah.
didn't take I could vouch for you. You didn't take things too personal, but if you
Nah,
took it personal, you called me in the office and we closed the door. You was like, "Hey, am I tripping?" Or is so
yeah.
and so saying this, and I was like, "Nah, they kind of edgy or whatnot." Let's move on. Hey, talk to us a little bit about, for somebody who wants to pursue a career in radio. What's some things that you would what's exactly, that's what I'm thinking. But what's some things, because it's a lot of people that want to get in radio. Like you see all the people podcasting because they really want to be on radio, right? If you're podcasting, you really want to be on radio at some point. But radio is probably going to filter you, to a certain degree. But the people podcasting, all the IGers, what's some things you could tell them, like, if you want to go in that direction, what they can start doing?
I mean, listen,
I know
I
one
mean,
thing you're gonna say. I know one thing
say,
you're gonna say. You're gonna say, "Hey, let the music play. Stop talking so
yeah.
much." So that's one of
Well,
my things I get
yeah, that,
credited for.
yeah, but that's on the terrestrial radio side.
Yeah,
If you worked for me, because of course the music, the people came to radio station for music typically 99.9% of the time. But if somebody wants to be an independent, the good thing about podcasting is just content. So, I'm a fan of how this business has, I tell this story all the time. Like, I understand why a lot of old DJs are bitter, right? And I'm not gonna say no names, but a lot of the old school OGs are bitter because of the new class. And I get it because when we started growing up, there was only two lanes of highway, right?
Yeah,
To get to the top, which was radio and television, right? Unless you was an athlete. But now, so our path to be the top, you had to go through so many hurdles and go through so many people. Now these guys don't even need radio. They got their own little, their own little social network. So no, you don't need radio. Radio needs you guys.
yeah,
Like, they need to find that next person who can, you know, encapsulate an audience like no other. So, to get in the radio business is, I mean, I think some people make more money at Chipotle than
yeah.
they do in the in the radio business. And I don't listen, I still love it. I have a passion for it. I'm just not into it like I used to.
Yeah,
Uh, because the dynamic, because you don't really need us. See, when you were needed, when you were the only source of new music, which we were at one point before the internet, you had I like I like that position to be in. Now they don't need radio, they don't need nobody. I mean, I still think it's still free, right? Let's not knock the business. People still listen to it. And what radio needs to do, and I've always advocated for this, is that they need to find a newer audience because they're not they're not embracing the youth. Okay, they still embracing people like our age, and they
mhm,
don't and people like my age or our age is like we get it because that's how we grew up on it, but they're not embracing the youth. And if they're not going to embrace the youth, then you ain't going to have an audience in them 10 years because that youth has found other avenues to consume music or their consumption or how they get their content.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you're checking in, we are talking to Mr. Adrian Scott, program director of Los Angeles and consultant for other stations across the United States. Um, just talk a little bit about how you touch the finances you touch, as far as what's the thought process of. I know there was a growth as far as you developing bigger checks. You learning to invest in yourself and learning to invest, correct?
I
So what?
did. I
So
mean,
talk to us a little bit. What goes through your process when you touch your monies and move monies around? Because this is the focus of who we're talking to. I just wanted people to understand who you are and why we were talking to you.
yeah. So, for me, I've always said that once I understood the art of credit, the art of paying bills, and then the art of investing, and then I understood that I needed my money to make money in addition to the money that I'm making. And so now anytime I get an opportunity to turn money into money, I do. Anytime I take a line of credit out, I do it to try to turn that into more money to help pay off the line of credit. So I'm always constantly trying to find things. As you know, I bought a laundromat,
Mhm.
owned a smoke shop, bought a couple of real estate properties, sold a few, bought a few more.
Yeah, yeah.
One I ran out.
And, and
Um,
and and let's not forget you invest in your own concerts, right?
yeah,
You,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So my own shows I do, I put money into that to get the money out. So, but that was after trial and error. That was after seeing kind of, the crush grooves of the world for the last 15 years, 14 years, whatever how long it's been. But yeah, a lot of that is just seeing how else can I make 5,000, 10,000. That
yeah,
was the
yeah,
goal at first. Like, how do I double my money? And then it starts to point like, all right, if I can double it here, how do I triple it there? So yeah, I invest into my own shows. I have a mental cap or a financial cap in my head. I never try to go over that. I try to never go above my means. I also know that sometimes there's losses and I've lost, right? Everything's been a home run, but it's like Vegas, man. I made sure that whatever I did lose, I was comfortable losing. That yeah, it hurt, but it won't hurt. Like I'll
yeah,
be upset, but I won't, I'm not looking through the house trying to find copper to go to, to the
yeah,
trying to pawn some shit off. So I've been very smart on when I need to pull out money. But at the same time, I never went above my means. Now I was as much as I wanted home runs, I was okay with base hits, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for the people that understand, you got to take small goals become big goals. You can't always get the home run, like he just said. Let's get back. Biggest moment in your career. You've had a couple. I've been around. You had a
Yeah,
couple.
yeah. I've had a couple, and but I define my success on other people, right? I define my success on other people. I put people in position to be successful,
Yeah,
and I find joy in that. But for personally, obviously, I was the youngest Black program director in America at one point. I wasn't even 30 yet, running the number 2 market the same year that Obama got elected, right? So that to me was like,
mhm.
uh, but selling out shows. I think, and I think when we sold Crush Groove 2 years back to back that one year at the
Yeah.
Gibson, right? That was like, man, it sold out in the first hour and a half. And
Mhm.
then we did it again, and that sold out 2 weeks later. And they want to do a third one. I was like, no, no, not the third one. And I should have pulled the trigger on the third one, but
Mhm.
we didn't. So that was cool. I mean, obviously creating K-Day was cool, right? Had I known what I know then, it wouldn't have been called K-Day. I'd have named it AD. And then I would have licensed it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But once again, I am a 29-year-old, 28, 29-year-old kid, which in a sense it is a kid
yeah.
compared to somebody who's in his 40s now. So yeah, I mean, those are my true success. But then even now, like the fact that I'm able to, people will take my phone calls,
Yeah.
right? Um, Majority of the people will accept my phone call at some point. So which leads to other things. So
Got
yeah, for me.
I got you. But you've built a network throughout the whole process where they take your phone call or they take your phone call for the purpose of they know that you mean business and you're not calling to say, hey, like what's up for this weekend? Where the club at? You know.
Yeah.
So if somebody like yourself, you've met everybody, you've done concerts with everybody, you write the checks for concerts. Who's one of the biggest? Who's somebody that where your heartbeat changed a little bit that you ran across? Because I've never seen it, so I was just wondering, was there somebody?
Yeah, I mean, the first time running into Dre, that was kind of iconic
Yeah,
for me.
yeah,
Um, but outside of that, but that was like I said, it was only a brief moment because I always say this story too, and I've never really been starstruck, and I'll tell you why. Is my oldest brother used to work for the Lakers,
yeah.
and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I remember that he let me go into the locker room, and I'm
yeah.
probably in the seventh or eighth grade at the time, and and James Worthy was there. He's like, all right, man, you sit down, Jay. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to, And then I saw James Worthy drinking a beer, right?
Mhm.
And I said, oh, James Worthy, no different than my daddy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so I always had this moment, like, I really can't be that starstruck because they just people.
yeah,
So I knew that at an early age. But if I had to, well, no, I mean, even the Dre moment was cool, but it was just because I was such a fan.
yeah.
Um, so I would have to probably be the only one that I kind of got a little. But I mean, I really don't really get starstruck like that. They just,
Yeah,
like I said,
I ain't
yeah,
never, I've never seen you in a corner where I caught you slipping. Like I was like, nah, for the most part, when the artist was coming through, like you were shaking hand and we couldn't find you like 5 minutes
yeah,
after they get into the office.
yeah, because they're just people, and I regret some of that stuff because I don't have a lot of archives of what I've done,
I was gonna
and,
ask you that biggest regret, biggest
yeah,
regret,
just
and that could be one.
but a lot of it because I really didn't like how I looked, right?
Yeah,
That was more of an insecurity factor, but yeah, I regret not being involved, to not for me personally, but to kind of show my sons,
mhm,
like, yo, this is what I've done. Like, look at the, here's the
yeah,
photo proof. I can tell them for here the kingdom come. They don't believe me. I mean, they believe me because they've been around, but you know what I'm saying? So I would say not always being kind of in those pictures or in those videos, which
yeah,
I allowed y'all to do. I was like, nah, man, please take them pictures.
yeah,
I
yeah,
used to always
yeah,
tell you, hey, the artist there, go there and take your thing, do your thing. I try to be, like I said, the behind the scenes guy so much, but yeah, because and Trey, we didn't met everybody under the sun on the West Coast,
yeah.
even the East Coast artists. So there's not one person we did not meet.
Yeah.
Even when K Dot was coming up, who was going to our
Yeah.
shows before he was Kenny.
Yeah,
Uh,
we had people like K Dot coming in before they was big.
and kudos
I
to you
can't,
guys for getting
hey,
them.
hey, I was hanging out with J Rock. Now I can't even get a hold of J Rock,
Right,
Hey,
right. You know what I mean? Both sometimes, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
that's how
top too, like,
yeah.
for speaking of, I gotta text him back. But yeah, so I mean, stuff like that.
All right.
I regret not having the digital footprint that I should have to
Yeah.
look back. But outside of that, I don't have any true regrets. I wish I was I wish I was a little bit nicer to people though. I hate the stigma if they think I was an asshole. And it's not that because I probably could have balanced it out early on and say, hey, I'm not really an asshole, but understand why I do what
Yeah.
I do. But you're right, my circle is kind of small. So if I can go back, I wish I was a little bit understanding that people's feelings when I walked in the building, I would have been a little bit more nicer.
Yeah.
I would have been a little bit more engaged
Mhm.
on them personally. Um, but that's about it,
All right.
but I can't take it back. I think I needed those life lessons to be who I am now.
Mhm.
And then navigating the space now, I'm more calm than I used to ever been. I used to be high strung. I used to, like I said, I used to wake up and breathe and like, now I'm a little
Yeah.
bit more relaxed. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I can't control what I can't control. I can only control what I can control. So let me control that.
Mhm.
I I'm a big believer. Tell me no, tell me yes, so I can at least navigate through that space. But yeah, I'm good.
Hey man, we appreciate you hanging out, especially your birthday weekend.
Yes,
So
correct.
hey, we always stay in touch and what I'm saying and keep up on each other. But
Yeah,
keep up the good work, man. And
thank you.
everybody was asking, like I said, everybody was asking about you. When I just ran through that situation this couple of days ago. So they
My apologies. My apologies to everybody to the K Day 40th anniversary. The guy that created didn't show up. It's all right.
he's still a fool. Hey man, enjoy your birthday weekend, and I'll tap in
Thank you,
with
man.
you.
I appreciate y'all.
All right, boss.
All right, later.
Later. So that was once again, that was Adrian Scott, Los Angeles radio professional. So a lot of people have a misunderstanding what financial freedom, and that's something I was talking to with AD as far as financial freedom. He's put himself in a situation to where he doesn't have to work for anybody. He consults radio stations all across the nation. I worked with him for about 9 years, but I've seen him develop as a person as I'm developing and trying to develop as well. It's all about the decisions we make as far as with our finances. Because a lot of people think financial freedom means, oh, I'm rich or I'm chasing money. That's not what financial freedom means. We're actually just chasing freedom. We're chasing time. Time is more of a value, is more of an asset as far as money is concerned, but you need money in order to get your time back. So there's a couple examples we'll run through because we only got a couple minutes left. If person one is making $80,000 with two properties, but they have one property that's a rental property, actually paying three-fourths of the mortgage that they're living in, that $80,000 now becomes more of it becomes theirs. So if more of it becomes theirs, how do you think that person's attitude is when they get to work? They're a little bit more joyful. They feel a little bit better about life because you're taking the weight off your shoulders. Then they have people that make 100 and like 100 a person that we know, for example, that makes $143,000, but they're stressed out because they live in a $4,000 condo. I mean, not even a condo, like an apartment, a high rise. So all their money's going out the door, and they work 14 hours a day, living in that Los Angeles because you got to count traffic. An hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half to get home. So they're constantly out there, whether you're at work or not. If you're gone for 12 hours or 11 hours out the day from your home, you're not financially free because you're spending all your time working, even though you make more money than the average American with $143,000. But you don't have no time, you have no freedom. One of the slogans we live by is invest now or pay for the rest of your life. We have to figure it out now, or we're going to pay for it later. I always say this without no disrespect to anybody. Have you ever seen one of those older ladies or older gentlemen stocking the store shelves in like a Food for Less or Vons or whatnot, wherever Ralph's? You think they really want to be stocking the store shelves at 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve? They want to be home with their family, but they didn't have a plan when they were younger. So the object is to be as independent. I put dependent on our 9 to 5. We don't want to be dependent on our 9 to 5. If we have a 9 to 5, that's cool. We understand how life works, but we don't want to be dependent on our 9 to 5. So the whole object of this webinar is, hey, in order to have a good Christmas or good holiday, you don't have to bust the bank. Stop using your credit card. Stop piling up this debt so you can impress the kids, impress family members, etc. You don't have to have, if you don't have it and you have to charge it to a credit card, that means you really don't have it. Unless you got some extra money coming in and you say, hey, I'm gonna put it on my credit card just for the month. But as we'll show how the credit card process works, where $1,000 will cost you like $6,500 eventually down the line. So what's some reasons why to invest in real estate? That's my home base right now. Real estate is one of the pillars to wealth. It is an asset. It appreciates over time. Real estate is one of the reasons why, as a minority people, we have no generational wealth passed down to us. So big mama, grandma, pawpaw, whoever didn't pass nothing down to the grandkids because we're always renting. So it's our job now as the generation we are to buy and create generational wealth for our families that in generations to come. The average spending holiday, this has been growing since 2015. Look, take a look for yourself. Since 2015, we've been spending more and more money trying to impress more and more people. For what? To go into more debt. In 2012, the average person spent about $1,500. Like I said, that $1,500 on credit cards turned into like $6,000, $7,000. So you pay $7,000 for Christmas presents. You pay $7,000 for Christmas presents. There's good debt versus bad debt. Good debt, education, business, invest in yourself. Try to create a business. Even if you try to create a business, it doesn't work out. You've learned something through the process. You've created good debt somewhere in you, somewhere about you or in the future. A home is great debt. And all it does is create equity and appreciation. Some things are bad debt. Cars. Everybody wants a new car. I got 2 cars. They look pretty good, but I'd rather have something else. But I will not get a new car because I do not want the car note. So even when I decide to get a new car, I'll probably just do a lease, or I'll buy something to where I could probably buy it cash. Credit cards. I got a couple credit cards that nobody in my family knows about, and they're tore up. I don't even know about them. They're tore up because I will not use them. I've built debt before, and I don't like the way it feels, and I'm doing my best to stay away from that, as you should. Do not create credit card debt. They will get you in the end. So with our last slide right here, before we let everybody get out and enjoy their Saturday, I appreciate everybody for tuning in and hanging out with me on this Saturday morning. So as you can see, if you have $10,000 in credit card, in 2 years, it becomes $12,000. So somebody might say, oh, well, who has $10,000 in credit card debt from Christmas? Let's say 5. Let's divide everything by 5. Let's divide 10,000 by 5. Let's divide this by 5, the total, after you pay 24.9% interest. So if you divide that by 5, so now your $5,000 then became a little close to 7 or 8. So in 2 years, it was 7 or 8. And in 2 years, if you divide that, you pay $25,000 for $5,000. If it took you 20 years to pay back your credit card, which some people do because they only pay the minimum. Some people say, oh, that's so stupid. Well, if your credit card is $200 and you're paying the minimum of 10, this is why this number comes up, 20 years. So all we're trying to say is, hey, don't go into debt over the holidays trying to make somebody else happy. If you don't have the cash, don't worry about it. Everybody's going to wake up the day after the holiday and be happy regardless that we're all still here waiting for the new year or whatnot. So, hey, I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. We'll be doing this once a month for the next 6 months. Tell a friend, tell a family member. It's the accountability tour. 6 months of accountability. We'll have this video posted. Share it, and we appreciate it.